Good afternoon. It's Betty Shan again, and glad to be with you, and glad for those that have joined and those that are watching. My grandson told me to always remember that. So if I forget, well, that's just the way grandmas do. But anyway, I am glad to join you this evening. And to tell the rest of the story, it wasn't my roof that was leaking, thank the Lord. It was just a pipe from the air conditioner was clogged up. So they fixed that, and we hope it's fixed. He's going to check it again tomorrow. But anyway, God's been good to us, and I was in there getting some steak ready to fix steak fingers out of, and I put some buttermilk on it, letting it soak. And I thought, if I don't do this now, I won't get it done. And I come in here and turned on the machine, and I looked like one of them cartoons they used to make years ago. You don't see it very often anymore, where the little guy put his finger in the electrical socket and their hair stands straight out. Well, that's how I felt. So I went and sprayed my hair, but it sure didn't help much, I noticed. But anyway, it's a good day. And I thought about, after thinking about the one where the kid stuck his finger in the electrical socket and his hair stood out. I thought of little Pedro that was in the funny papers, and he used to throw the alarm clock out the window when the alarm would go off of a morning. And some mornings we feel like that. We feel like throwing that alarm clock out the window and sleeping in a little longer. And if you've got children, you don't get to do that. But you know, us grandmas get to once in a while, and it sure is nice. But anyway, I was in there also today, and the neighbor had given me some figs. So I went and picked the figs that I had on my bushes. My bushes aren't very old. I got about 10 figs, and I put them in some water and started cooking them. And I thought, well, I can't do this and make a video, so I turned that off. So I'm going to have to get busy here in a little bit, but I did want to talk to you a minute. Make sure your day's going good, and hope I say something or do something that'll make you grin. I got to thinking about my little grandma, Bryant. One of my aunts just told me here a few months ago. She stayed with me about a month, and we got to talking about things that happened about my grandma and different things. And she said, Betty, I can remember seeing my mother out hoeing in the garden, and said she would be hoeing up weeds. You know, Grandpa had planted the garden, and the garden was growing, but she'd be out there hoeing up weeds, and said she'd stop and lean over on her shovel and go to praying that God would bless her garden, that she would have enough stuff to can for her family for the winter time. And I thought, yeah, you know, a lot of times we forget to do the praying. We want things to go right, but sometimes we just need to stop and thank the Lord and pray a little bit and ask God's blessings on whatever we're doing, because He's the one that blesses us, and we have found that through the years that's the way it is. God blesses us. It's nothing we've done, nothing we deserve, but God blesses us and He cares for us. But I also got to thinking about we was all talking one time, and I had made a great big old pot of homemade soup, putting everything nearly in it but the kitchen sink, is what they say, you know, when I make soup. And one of my aunts turned to me and told me, said, Betty, you didn't put the sugar in. I said, what? I don't put sugar in my soup. She said, Mama always put sugar in anything she cooked. And I said, well, why would she do that? She said, I don't know, but us kids got used to it and said, I put sugar just about in everything I cook, a tablespoon of sugar. And I got to thinking, maybe some of y'all know why she would put sugar in her soups and different things. She would make gravy. She'd put a tablespoon of sugar in her gravy. And I thought, boy, she's lucky she didn't have any diabetic children or anything at that time. And but anyway, you just think about different things that happens and things that go on, and that's one of the things that I remember now is the fact that they told me about her cooking and putting the sugar in her soup. Well, I've got some meat in there setting that I've put some buttermilk on for steak fingers. So I'm going to let it set a while. That helps tenderize your meat, I'm told. So I'm going to let that set a few minutes while I'm talking to y'all, and then I'll go in there and fry my steak fingers. Well, this has just been another blessed day, and God's been good to us, and like I said, he supplied all of our needs, and he's ever present help in time of need. And anyway, I thought about Grandma and her cooking, but I also thought about Grandma and her praying, and I thought about different things that took place in my Grandma Bryant's life. You know, there had to be a lot of worries with 13 kids, and I'll never forget one of the stories that the kids told me, or really my daddy told me about it. He said, Betty said, when me and your Uncle Leslie and Uncle Chess was all within 2 years apart. There was 3 kids, and between each one was 2 years. Now, they had more kids, but these were the 3 older boys when they were kids. And said Mama was in there trying to get a bunch of work done, and said she couldn't do it. Said every time she'd get started doing something, one of us would take off. So he said she finally picked up the ends of that old iron bedstead that she had, and she stuck one in each one of them's pockets, the feet on the iron bedstead, so that they could not move. And he said, so the littlest one wasn't put on one, but he would stay with the other 2 because they were the older boys, and she had fixed it where they couldn't go off or do anything so she could get her work done. And sometimes we might need us a metal bedspread to stick in the back pocket of our kids. I know sometimes kids get to be a handful, but let me tell you, as they grow and as they get older and they leave your home, they will always come back home if you make a good home for them. And they will love home, and they will be telling these stories to their children. So we need to make some stories for our children. We need to remind them of different things so they can tell their children. But anyway, I want you to keep that chin up, have a blessed day, and live for the Lord.